You want to know the truth about power? Real power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to. True dominance walks into a room and the air itself shifts. Conversations pause. Eyes find you before you've even spoken. Men recalibrate their posture. Women lean in, pulled by something they can't name but cannot resist. That's the aura of inevitability, not the desperate peacocking of insecure men, not the hollow bravado that screams for validation, but the silent, crushing gravity that makes others whisper your name with a mixture of respect and something darker, something primal. Maybe you've been called too intense by people who can't match your energy. Maybe you felt like you're playing chess while everyone else plays checkers. Maybe you've sensed a power inside you that you've been taught to suppress, to apologize for, to shrink away from. Society told you to be smaller, more palatable, less threatening. Fuck that. What I'm about to teach you isn't theory. It's psychological architecture. The blueprint Machiavelli would have killed to possess, combined with Jung's understanding of the shadow, Nietzsche's will to power, and the brutal pragmatism that separates legends from background noise. In the next 40 minutes, you will learn the 10 stages of transformation that separate people who fade into irrelevance from those who become untouchable. Every day you delay building this aura, someone else is taking the power that should be yours. People are already assessing you, already categorizing you. Right now, they've decided where you rank in the hierarchy. This is how you shatter that assessment and rebuild it on your terms. Stay until the end. This isn't entertainment. This is a weapon. Comment below. Power flows to me. Let's begin. Number 1. The foundation of aura. Certainty as currency. Power begins where doubt dies. Most people live in perpetual hesitation. They second-guess themselves into irrelevance, apologize for taking up space, negotiate with a world that respects only strength. They're constantly checking. Is this okay? Am I allowed? Will they approve? That hesitation? It's the scent of prey. The market of human interaction trades in one currency above all others, certainty. And you're about to become ruthlessly wealthy. Machiavelli understood what modern people have forgotten. Humans don't follow the smartest person in the room. They follow the one who moves with unshakable conviction, the one whose path appears carved in stone, whose presence radiates. I know exactly where I'm going, and nothing you say will change that. This is not arrogance. Arrogance is loud, defensive, fragile. What we're building is colder, more surgical. This is the deliberate construction of psychological authority. Carl Jung wrote about individuation, becoming fully yourself, undivided, whole. Most people never achieve it. They're fragments, constantly adjusting themselves to fit others' expectations. That fragmentation bleeds certainty like an open wound. But when you become integrated, when you know who you are and refuse to dilute it, you radiate a frequency that others feel instantly. They sense they're in the presence of someone complete, someone who doesn't need their validation. That completeness is magnetic because it's so rare. Every glance you give must carry weight. Every word you speak must land with finality. Every silence you hold must make others uncomfortable enough to fill it with their weaknesses. Weak people chatter endlessly, explaining themselves into invisibility. Powerful people conserve words like a king hoards gold, rarely spent, but when used, absolutely devastating. Train yourself to see every interaction as information warfare. People reveal everything about themselves in the first 30 seconds. They tell you what they fear, what they want, where their insecurities bleed through. And you? You reveal nothing. You become the mirror they project their fantasies and fears onto. The less you say, the more they invent, and what they invent is always more powerful than reality. That gap between who you are and who they imagine you to be, that's where your aura lives. Nietzsche called this the will to power. Not power over others, but the will to become your highest self, to actualize your potential without apology or permission. When you embody that will, your presence becomes denser, heavier. It warps the social gravity around you. In your next 3 conversations, speak exactly half as much as you normally would. Watch people scramble to fill the void. Watch them offer information you never requested. Watch them gradually submit to the frame you're holding. Because your silence isn't absence. It's presence concentrated into something so dense it bends everything around it. The sun doesn't apologize for being the sun. It simply is, and everything else orbits accordingly. Become that inevitable. Comment below if you understand my silence commands respect. Number 2, the mask of controlled power. Become unreadable. Your aura isn't what you are. It's what you allow the world to see. Machiavelli wrote that people judge by appearances far more than by reality. Most humans make snap judgments based on surface-level cues. They're lazy perceivers, and this reality is your greatest weapon. Jung spoke about the persona, the mask we wear in social situations. Most people confuse the persona with fakeness. They're wrong. The persona is psychological technology. It's the interface between your inner world and external reality. Raw emotion, that's blood in the water. Uncontrolled impulses, chains around your own neck, outbursts of rage, floods of excitement, desperate reactions. These crack the mask and reveal the frightened animal beneath. Your face must become a fortress, your voice, a calculated instrument, your eyes, the calm surface of deep water, beautiful, mysterious, and hiding everything that could drown someone. When people cannot read you, they cannot predict you. When they cannot predict you, they cannot control you. And when they cannot control you, they either submit or retreat. Both outcomes serve your power. Picture this: someone insults you publicly. They're testing you, trying to establish dominance through provocation. Most people explode in anger or laugh nervously. You do neither. You turn toward them slowly. Your expression doesn't change, not angry, not amused, just present. You hold eye contact for 2 seconds longer than comfortable. Then you say completely calm, "Interesting perspective." Then you simply turn away, as if they cease to exist. What just happened? You refused to play their game. You didn't defend. That breaks their entire framework for how conflict works. Everyone watching just learned you cannot be baited. You operate by different rules. That's the mask in action. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. The mask is that realization weaponized. Cultivate an expression of quiet authority, not stern, that's try hard, not constantly smiling, that's desperate, something in between. Calm assessment. The face of someone who has already calculated outcomes and found them manageable. Move slower than everyone around you, because haste is anxiety's signature. The person of genuine power sets the tempo. Others unconsciously adjust to match it. Hold eye contact slightly longer than feels comfortable. Most people will break first. They'll look away, laugh nervously, make a joke. That micro moment, that's submission. Speak from your chest. Your voice should be low, resonant, deliberate, not loud. Loudness is compensation, but carrying effortless authority. Every syllable should sound like it's carved in stone. Schopenhauer wrote about the difference between representation and will. Your mask is representation, carefully controlled, but beneath it flows will, your true intentions, your strategy, your calculations. The gap between the two is power. People should feel compelled to earn your warmth. They should sense that behind your calm exterior lives something they don't want to cross. But they should also glimpse the possibility that aligning with you leads to elevation. That tension creates fascination. They cannot look away. They cannot dismiss you. They must engage with you, and in that engagement, you've already won. When you master the mask, attention doesn't need to be chased. It falls on you as naturally as light falls on the highest point in a landscape. Comment below, "My mask is my weapon." Number 3, the calculated use of fear, the edge they cannot touch. Let's address the truth that makes weak people uncomfortable. Power without fear is an illusion waiting to shatter. Machiavelli stated it plainly, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Modern sensibilities recoil from this, but those sensibilities will never bend reality to your will. Fear is not brutality. It's the perception of consequences. It's people understanding, at a cellular level, that crossing you leads to outcomes they'd rather avoid. The person who inspires strategic fear doesn't threaten. Threats are what powerless people resort to when they have no leverage. They simply are. And in that being, others sense the edge. Jung wrote about integrating the shadow, the dark parts of yourself you've been taught to reject. Most people suppress their capacity for ruthlessness. They think that makes them good, it makes them weak. But when you integrate the shadow, when you acknowledge, yes, I am capable of destruction and I choose when to deploy it, that integration radiates through your presence. People feel it even if they can't name it. You have a friend who constantly takes advantage, borrows money and forgets to return it, cancels plans last minute, shows up late with weak excuses. Most people either tolerate it endlessly or explode in angry confrontation. Both are weak. You do something different. The next time they ask for a favor, you say, no. Not, I can't, just no. They push. Come on, just this once. You interrupt calmly. I said no. Then you change the subject or walk away. No explanation, no justification, no anger, just the boundary, enforced with cold finality. What happens next? They either respect it or they escalate, revealing they never valued you. Either outcome serves you. But you demonstrated that crossing your boundaries has consequences. That removal of access is the fear we're discussing. Not terror, just the quiet recognition that you are not someone to be trifled with. Think about apex predators. Does a lion roar constantly? Number. It moves calmly, conserves energy, strikes with precision when necessary. The roar is rare, which is exactly why it's terrifying when it comes. You are the same. But fear without utility breeds rebellion. If people fear you but gain nothing from your orbit, they'll eventually unite against the common threat. The secret is binding fear to necessity. Be the person others rely on while simultaneously dreading the thought of losing access to you. Make yourself indispensable to their success, their status, their sense of security. When you combine fear with utility, you create loyalty that runs deeper than affection ever could. Here's a darker example. Someone publicly takes credit for your idea. You say nothing in the moment, but over the next 2 weeks, you systematically stop helping this person. They ask for input. Too busy. They need an introduction. Can't help with that. You never explain why, you just withdraw. Their performance will suffer. Everyone watching will notice the correlation. Cross this person and they become a ghost. That's far more terrifying than confrontation, because it demonstrates long memory and strategic patience. People who are loved are replaceable. But people who are feared, people who combine competence with consequence, those people shape reality around them. Your aura must whisper, not scream. Whisper. Cross me and you'll regret it in ways you won't see coming. That edge, properly maintained, means you'll rarely need to use it. Its existence is enough. Comment below. My presence breeds respect and fear. Number 4, the art of emotional detachment. Become the unmoved mover. To bend others, you must first bend yourself into something beyond ordinary human weakness. Attachment, desperation, overinvestment. These are the invisible chains that make people predictable, controllable, easily manipulated. Emotional detachment is invincibility. Most people are emotional puppets. Someone insults them, they explode or collapse. Someone rejects them, they beg or rage. Someone withholds approval, they scramble desperately to earn it back. Every reaction is a leash someone else can pull. Their moods shift with every interaction. A compliment sends them soaring. Criticism crushes them. They're completely at the mercy of their environment. That's not power. That's slavery with extra steps. But when you achieve genuine detachment, you become the one element in human chaos that cannot be leveraged. The Stoics understood this. Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Watch what happens when you remain calm under insult. Someone attacks you publicly. They're expecting explosion or collapse. You give them nothing. Your expression doesn't change. Your voice stays level. You might even smile slightly, not in mockery, but in genuine amusement. Then you respond, if that's your perspective, and you simply continue with whatever you were doing. What just happened? They attacked. You didn't defend. That breaks their entire framework. They expected engagement. You gave them neither fight nor flight. You essentially communicated, "Your attack doesn't register as threatening enough to warrant my emotional investment." That makes people short-circuit. The person who attacked you now feels ridiculous. Everyone watching learned you cannot be emotionally manipulated, and you remained completely in control. Detachment enables strategic precision. Emotions fog judgment. Love clouds your ability to see exploitation. Hate consumes energy that could be used strategically. Fear prevents bold moves, but detachment clears the fog. It allows you to see the game for what it is, a chessboard where pieces have no inherent value beyond their strategic utility. The person who loves without control becomes enslaved by their own heart. The person who hates without strategy burns themselves alive with their own rage. But the detached person? They use both love and hate as tools, never as prisons. Here's what detachment looks like. You have a romantic interest. You're attracted, invested. Most people become needy. They text too much. They seek constant reassurance. You do the opposite. You remain centered in your own mission. You respond to texts when convenient. You make plans when they fit your schedule. You're genuinely happy to see them, but also genuinely fine if things don't work out. This isn't playing games. This is maintaining your center of gravity. What happens? They become more invested because you're demonstrating that you're complete without them. And completeness is magnetic because it's so rare. Jung wrote about the self, the integrated totality of your being. Most people are fragmented. Their sense of worth depends on external validation. They're incomplete, and that incompleteness makes them desperate. But when you achieve integration, you stop needing the world to complete you. You can choose to engage, but you don't need to. That choice is power. Next time someone tries to provoke you, pause, breathe deeply. Watch the emotion rise inside you like a wave. Acknowledge it. Yes, I'm feeling anger right now. Then choose not to be governed by it. The emotion passes, because all emotions pass if you don't feed them. Over time, this transforms you. People will become increasingly unsettled by your calm. They'll escalate, trying desperately to get a reaction. Let them. Their desperation only highlights your strength. Nothing owns you. Therefore, no one controls you. When you achieve this state, you gain choice. You choose when to engage emotionally and when to remain ice. You choose when someone deserves your anger and when they deserve your indifference. That sovereignty over your own psychological state is the foundation of all other power. Comment below when you're ready. I am untouchable. Number 5, mastery of silence and words, the weapons. Most people waste words or weapons. Silence is the sheath that gives them their killing edge. Most people squander both. They talk to fill space, to prove their intelligence, to combat their discomfort with quiet. They vomit words without precision, creating noise that signals weakness. But the person who masters silence and wields words like surgical instruments, they command the battlefield of minds before anyone realizes they're at war. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." Silence is the fortress that guards your strategy. Silence creates vacuum. and people will rush to fill it, revealing their insecurities, hidden agendas, desperate needs. Meanwhile, you observe, collect data, say nothing. Then, when you finally speak, every syllable lands with the force of natural law. You're in a meeting, multiple people talking over each other, competing for airspace. The energy is chaos. You say nothing. You just observe with that calm, assessing gaze. The chaos continues. Then someone turns to you. What do you think? Now the entire room is silent, waiting, because your silence created curiosity. You let the silence hang for 2 seconds longer than comfortable. Then you speak. One sentence. We're moving forward with option B. Implementation starts Tuesday. Then you stop. Don't elaborate. Don't justify. Just let the statement exist. What just happened? Everyone else exhausted their authority through over-explanation. You conserved yours through strategic silence, then deployed it with precision. That's mastery. Jung spoke about the unconscious. When you speak constantly, you operate only at the surface level. But when you embrace silence, your unconscious processes patterns others miss. Your words then carry that deeper processing. They cut through noise and strike at truth. Leaders don't speak constantly. They speak rarely, powerfully, with words so precisely chosen they're quoted long after the conversation ends. They speak in definitive statements, not suggestions, not questions seeking approval. This is how it will be. We're moving forward on Tuesday. That conversation is finished. Notice what's absent? Justification, explanation, apology. Those signal negotiation from weakness. Before you speak, ask, is this necessary? Does this serve my strategic interests? Can I say this in fewer words? What do I want the listener to feel after I speak? Someone challenges you publicly. They're trying to make you defensive. Most people launch into justification. Well, actually, if you look at the data, that's weakness. You say, your concern is noted. Then you simply move on. What did you just do? Acknowledge their challenge without accepting its validity. Demonstrated that their opinion doesn't compel you to justify yourself. Moved forward on your terms, all in 4 words and strategic silence. The combination of silence and speech is like a blade and its strike. Without one, the other loses force. In your next 10 conversations, cut your word count in half. Count to 3 before responding to questions. Let that micro pause create gravity. Watch how people lean in closer. Watch how your sparse statements suddenly carry more weight. Watch how silence becomes your ally. A careless tongue ruins empires. A disciplined tongue builds them. Silence earns respect. Words win wars. Both together forge the kind of presence that makes others submit before conflict even begins. Your voice should be so rarely heard that when it emerges, people stop everything to listen. Comment below, my silence speaks louder than kings. Number 6, the weaponization of presence, making air itself. Submit your aura isn't abstract philosophy. It's a physical force that must be felt the instant you enter a space. Presence is invisible power made tangible. It's built through surgical control of energy, body, and spatial dynamics. Most people stumble into spaces seeking permission to exist, shoulders slightly hunched, eyes scanning for approval, movements tentative. They're broadcasting, I hope I'm not bothering anyone. That's prey behavior. The Machiavellian mind never hopes, it commands, it occupies space. Nietzsche wrote about the Übermensch, the person who creates their own values. Presence is the physical manifestation of that self-created authority. You're not asking permission, you're stating through pure physical being, I am the order. Posture. Stand like you own the ground beneath your feet, shoulders back and down, spine straight but not stiff, the posture of someone who isn't asking permission. Movement. Move slower than everyone around you. Haste is anxiety's signature. The person of genuine power sets the tempo. Others unconsciously adjust to match it. Test this. Slow your pace by 20%. Watch others either slow to match you or pull ahead, then wait. Either way, you're controlling the rhythm. Eye contact. Hold it slightly longer than feels comfortable. Most people will break first. That micro moment, that's submission. Voice. Speak from your chest. Low, resonant, deliberate, not loud. Loudness is compensation, but carrying. Every word should sound carved in stone. Record yourself. If you hear breathiness or high-pitched anxiety, you're speaking from weakness. Slow your speech by 20%. Leave space between sentences. Breathing. Anxious people breathe shallowly and quickly. Calm people breathe deeply and slowly. Your breathing pattern broadcasts your psychological state and literally alters it. Breathe like you have all the time in the world. Deep belly breaths. This isn't just performance, it actually calms your nervous system. Territory. Expand into available space, not obnoxiously, but confidently. You're entitled to the space you occupy. Sit fully. Use armrests. Let your presence fill the available area. Energy. Your energy should be contained. Most people leak energy through nervous movement, excessive speech, reactive emotions. You should be energetically dense. All of your force concentrated into a single point. This creates a gravitational effect. People are drawn to that density. Scarcity. The person who is everywhere becomes invisible. The person who appears rarely but powerfully becomes mythical. Don't make yourself overly available. Don't respond to every text immediately. Don't attend every gathering. When you do show up, people should feel the shift. When you leave, there should be a subtle emptiness. That contrast is how legends are remembered. Inner conviction. Presence without inner conviction is theater. You must genuinely believe you belong at the center, not arrogantly, but with the calm certainty of natural law. The sun doesn't apologize for being the sun. It simply is, and everything else orbits accordingly. Jung called this individuation, becoming fully yourself. When you achieve that, your presence becomes real rather than performed, and people feel the difference. When you master presence, you stop needing to demand respect. It's offered before you've opened your mouth, because presence is gravity, and gravity doesn't ask permission. Comment below, my presence is undeniable. Number 7. The science of psychological leverage. Pull the invisible strings. Carl Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Most people are puppets dancing to strings they cannot see, strings attached to childhood wounds, unmet needs, desperate fears. But you're about to learn to see those strings, and once you see them, you can pull them. Power isn't brute force. True power is pulling strings so subtly that people believe they're acting on their own desires when they're actually executing your agenda. You're dealing with a colleague who undermines you in meetings. Most people would confront them directly. That's weakness. It hands them power. Here's what leverage looks like. You observe. You notice this person craves validation from authority figures. They light up when the boss acknowledges them. That's the string. So you publicly praise them for something minor in front of the boss. This confuses them. They expected war. You gave them honey. Then, in private, you casually mention how people who play politics instead of focusing on results tend to plateau. You say it neutrally, not about them, just in general. Their unconscious mind makes the connection. Am I being political? Is this hurting me? Meanwhile, you've positioned yourself as above petty games. 2 weeks later, they're subtly seeking your approval. The power dynamic has inverted. That's leverage. Machiavelli taught that humans are driven by fear of loss and hope of gain. But fear of loss is 3 to 5 times more powerful. When you want someone to act, make them aware of what they'll lose by not acting. Weak. This opportunity could help your career. Powerful. People who pass on opportunities like this usually wonder what if for years. That regret, it's corrosive. The second statement will haunt them. You've weaponized their imagination against their resistance. Every person carries a shadow, parts of themselves they reject and deny. Your power multiplies when you understand someone's shadow better than they understand it themselves. Watch what people overcompensate for. The person who constantly talks about their integrity? They fear being seen as dishonest. The one who brags about not caring what others think, desperate for approval. Once you identify someone's shadow, you have 3 leverage points. Validation, acknowledge their hidden need, mirror, reflect their fear subtly, solution, position yourself as the path to resolution. Someone projects extreme confidence, but you notice they only act confident in areas of expertise. Outside that, micro-expressions of panic, their shadow, imposter syndrome. In a group setting, you bring up a topic outside their expertise and ask their opinion. Frame it as seeking insight. Watch them squirm, give a vague answer, reveal the crack. Later, privately, you approach them. I noticed you seemed uncertain earlier. I've been there, that feeling of being out of your depth. You share a brief vulnerability, create alliance. Now they trust you because you saw their weakness and didn't exploit it. That creates intense psychological bond. And trust born from shared vulnerability, that's the deepest leverage of all. They'll now go out of their way to maintain your approval. But you are weaponizing it, just so subtly they experience it as friendship. Nietzsche, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. The inverse, control someone's why, their sense of purpose, and you control them absolutely. Make yourself essential to their why. Become the person who validates their mission, who provides resources, who connects them to opportunities. When you position yourself as critical infrastructure in someone's purpose, they cannot afford to lose you. They police themselves to maintain access, but leverage must remain invisible. The moment someone senses manipulation, they resist. The most effective control is the kind they never detect. Think of a museum curator. You don't force people through exhibits. You design the flow. Place important pieces where traffic leads. Create sightlines that guide the eye. Visitors think they're choosing their path. They're not. You've architected their experience. Ask yourself about the 3 most important people in your life. What do they fear losing most? What do they desperately want but won't admit? What story do they tell themselves? What contradicts that story? What would make them feel they need you? When you understand someone's psychological architecture better than they do, when you can anticipate their reactions 3 moves ahead, when you position yourself as both the answer to their needs and the person they slightly fear disappointing, you stop being just another person in their life. You become infrastructure they cannot function without. Schopenhauer wrote that the world is representation and will. Most people are trapped at representation, but you're learning to operate at the level of will, the deep currents that actually drive behavior. When you master leverage, you become like water, finding every crack, filling every void, shaping everything you touch while appearing to exert no force at all. Men can betray leaders they don't need, but they cannot betray those they depend on. That's leverage. That's power. That's untouchable. Comment below. I control the unseen strings. Number 8, the discipline of ruthless boundaries. Build walls they cannot cross. Power is built on what you do, but it's defined by what you refuse to tolerate. Boundaries are the invisible walls of your empire. Without them, your aura collapses under accumulated disrespect. Weak people accept too much, forgive too quickly, compromise too often. They teach the world. You can take from this person without cost. A Machiavellian mind does not allow such erosion. Ruthless boundaries aren't cruelty, they're clarity. They declare that your time, energy, and presence are not cheap commodities. They are luxuries, privileges, access to be earned and maintained. When people realize every action carries weight, every violation has cost, every insult triggers consequence, your value multiplies exponentially. Jung wrote about saying no. When you do something you don't want to do, you have abandoned yourself. Most people abandon themselves constantly. They say yes when they mean no. They tolerate behavior they hate. They sacrifice their needs to avoid conflict. That self-abandonment creates weakness and contempt, both self-contempt and contempt from others. People don't respect those who don't respect themselves. Someone wastes your time, shows up 30 minutes late for the third time. Most people explode or accept it with passive-aggressive comments. Both are weak. You do something different. You leave. If they're not there within 10 minutes, you're gone. No angry text, no explanation. When they finally text, you respond hours later. I don't wait. Reschedule when you're serious. What just happened? You enforced a boundary with cold finality. No negotiation, no second chances. They either learn or they exit your life. Either outcome serves your power. Someone disrespects you publicly. You don't explode, you don't laugh, you simply withdraw. Your warmth disappears. You become cordial but distant. They try to re-engage, but that version of you is gone. Its absence is the consequence. Someone tries to exploit you, asking for favors without reciprocation. You don't explain why their behavior is exploitative. You simply become unavailable. Can't help with that. Not possible right now. I'm focused on other priorities. No anger, just calm unavailability. They've been reclassified. Never hesitate. Hesitation signals weakness. When someone violates a boundary, the consequence should be immediate, cold, and without extensive justification. Over time, this creates a reputation. People know you are not someone who tolerates violation. That knowledge shapes their behavior before they consciously think about it. Boundaries also create scarcity. When you deny access, demand rises. When something is scarce, humans value it more. If you want an aura that bends wills, master the word no. Say it without anger, without guilt, without justification. No is pure power. It forces others to adjust to you rather than you contorting yourself to accommodate them. But boundaries aren't only external. Set them internally, with your own indulgences, your laziness, your emotional reactions, your base impulses. If you cannot discipline yourself, the world will see through your facade and exploit every crack. Self-discipline is the highest boundary. Without it, all others crumble. A person who controls their appetites radiates authority, doesn't overeat, doesn't drink to excess, doesn't waste hours on dopamine addiction, doesn't explode emotionally. That self-governance is visible. People sense it. They recognize you've conquered yourself, and if you can conquer yourself, you can certainly handle them. Machiavelli. A prince must be feared in such a way that if he does not win love, he avoids hatred. Boundaries done well inspire respect tinged with healthy fear, not hatred. Because your boundaries aren't personal attacks, they're consistent standards. When you embody this standard, people fall in line or fall away. Both outcomes serve your power. Those who align adjust their behavior, creating relationships based on mutual respect. Those who leave were never valuable. Their departure creates space for better opportunities. When you demand respect, when you enforce it without apology, when you demonstrate that access to you is a privilege that can be revoked, your aura transforms. You become someone others approach carefully, someone whose time feels valuable, someone whose approval means something because it's earned. You become untouchable. Comment below. My lines are unbreakable. Number 9. The shadow of strategic cruelty. When mercy becomes weakness. There comes a moment when presence, silence, leverage, and boundaries reach their limit. To truly bend people's will, you must embrace a truth that makes weak people recoil. Cruelty, when applied with surgical precision, is a tool of power. Machiavelli wrote, "Cruelty well used may be defined as that which is done at once out of necessity to secure oneself and which afterwards is not persisted in." Modern sensibilities reject this, but those sensibilities will never build empire. Strategic cruelty isn't reckless brutality, it's controlled fire. It's the willingness to do what others cannot, to cross lines that paralyze the ordinary, to strike in ways that leave lasting impressions. Strategic cruelty means you don't punish constantly. That's chaos. But when you do punish, the punishment is unforgettable, public enough to send a message, severe enough to deter future opposition. People must learn. To cross you is to suffer consequences that outweigh any potential benefit. This doesn't require violence, it requires imagination. Damage someone's reputation through strategic silence. Strip opportunity at the critical moment. Withdraw support precisely when they're most vulnerable. Cruelty and power isn't personal, it's tactical. A message sent to everyone in your orbit. When executed with cold calculation, strategic cruelty establishes precedent. It tells the world your aura is edged with steel. But cruelty must be measured. Too much and you become a tyrant who inspires rebellion. Too little and it loses all edge. The art is in timing and scale, sharp enough to scar, rare enough to haunt. Think of apex predators. Does a lion attack every animal? Number. It selects, stalks, kills with precision. The entire ecosystem adjusts. You must become the same. Strategic cruelty also extends inward. Be cruel to your weaknesses before they destroy you. Merciless with your excuses, ruthless with your own mediocrity. Destroy laziness before it takes root. Shatter comfort zones before they calcify. When you apply internal cruelty, you sharpen into a blade the world cannot dull. When others witness this ruthless self-discipline, when they see you hold yourself to standards that break ordinary people, they realize they cannot match your resilience. That recognition bends them to your gravity. But never confuse cruelty with chaos. Chaos creates vacuums others fill. Controlled cruelty builds empires. The aura you want cannot be built on kindness alone, nor on fear alone, but on mastery of both. Mercy makes you admired. Cruelty makes you remembered. The balance makes you untouchable. So when the time comes to unleash strategic cruelty, do it with precision, with intention, without hesitation or guilt. Let the scars you leave echo as warnings to anyone watching from the shadows. That is the true Machiavellian way. Power secured, not through constant war, but through decisive demonstrations that make further resistance unthinkable. Comment below, my power is edged in steel. Number 10. The crown of untouchability. Becoming inevitable. Everything we've built, the silence, the mask, the fear, the detachment, the presence, the leverage, the boundaries, the cruelty, all of it converges at one ultimate destination: untouchability. Untouchability isn't a title you claim. It's a status others feel when they stand in your presence. It's the aura of inevitability, the sense that no scheme, no insult, no betrayal can actually touch you. To be untouchable is to operate above the games of ordinary people, to bend their will while never appearing to exert effort. This crown is forged in discipline and worn in silence. The untouchable person doesn't seek validation, they generate it. They don't chase opportunities, they create them. They don't beg for loyalty, they command it through the weight of their aura. Machiavelli wrote that fortune favors the bold. True, but boldness without strategy is suicide. Real boldness is controlled risk, calculated moves, executed with precision. The untouchable person never moves recklessly. Every step is calculated. Every silence is a trap. Every smile a mask. Every gesture carries meaning. And because they're consistent, because they never break character, never reveal weakness, people come to believe they cannot be broken. That belief becomes their shield. Understand, power is never permanent. History shows every king eventually falls. But while you stand, your aura can make you seem eternal. People will bend not because they must, but because they cannot conceive of a world where your shadow doesn't loom over them. That is the highest form of dominance. Not loud, not chaotic, just inevitable. To achieve untouchability, you must fuse every principle into a single being. Your silence must command rooms. Your mask must conceal strategy. Your fear must be sharp but measured. Your detachment must keep you ice cold when others burn. Your presence must alter atmospheric pressure. Your leverage must turn people into unwitting pawns. Your boundaries must be walls they dare not touch. Your cruelty must be precise, haunting, legendary. When you weave this together, your aura becomes so overwhelming that people surrender, not because you force them, but because resisting you feels cosmically impossible. This is the crown of untouchability. It cannot be bought, it cannot be faked, it cannot be stolen. It can only be built through ruthless discipline, Machiavellian cunning, and relentless will. You now possess the blueprint. 10 stages of transformation that separate legend from mediocrity. The only question remaining, will you walk this path? Most won't. They'll watch this video, feel temporary motivation, then return to comfortable patterns of weakness. They'll remain background noise. But you? If you've stayed this far, if something in you resonated with these principles, if you felt recognition rather than rejection, you're different. You're ready to stop being shaped by the world and start shaping it. Comment one final time, I am untouchable. And if this monologue sharpened your mind, if it armed you with weapons you didn't possess 40 minutes ago, then take action, like this video, subscribe to the Machiavellian Mind, turn on notifications, because every upload is another tool for your arsenal, another blade for your collection, another step toward the untouchable aura that makes others submit without question. The path to power has no room for delay. Begin today. Begin now. Your empire awaits.